Hi, namaste, and welcome to Breakout with me, Abha. Thank you so much for watching. As you know, we bring on breakout people who are extraordinary game changers, mavericks, people who have been there, done that, made new rules, and helped us understand how to make those new rules. They help us understanding how to break out of what we find limiting and break into something that is absolutely necessary for us. And we learn from them something very interesting. That is that there are no rules out there. We make the rules all on the way. So my guest today is one of the brightest business women in India and globally, a leader extraordinaire, a very, very unusual chairperson. She's embarrassed, you can see on the side, but she is just like that, a very, very unusual chairperson of a leading business conglomerate, passionate about alternative fuel and energy with an acute sense of environment and the impetus on green at her company, Thermax. Thermax, the industry leader in global energy and social responsibility. She is the new generation entrepreneur who does not believe in stereotypes, the true breakout woman. Please welcome Meher Padamji. Meher, how are you?
Hi, thanks Abha for inviting me. I'm very well, thank you.
I'm very glad that you're here because I know you're extremely busy. So we're going to do a quick thing. I'm working on women's leadership. Meher, I've authored a book called Nucleus Power: Women Lead from the Core, where we are looking at insights for women leaders all across the spectrum, not just in a corporate sector, but otherwise entrepreneurs who would want to go out and do things. So we want to. You've got very, very impressive numbers behind you, and I'm not truly interested in that. I'm more interested in the person behind that number because I want to pick your brains on that and understand from you a couple of lessons in leadership, human strength, and as a woman, what do you advise to people, women out there who want to take up entrepreneurship and business?
hmm
Okay, so for me, I know this is a family company, Thermax, and you came into a picture. I mean, you came in for a reason, and people thought inheritance has been a cakewalk for people who just walk in there, and it's all there for them. It's on a plate, and everything is easy. And I just want to put that message out there, and coming from you, it'll be a great message for everybody who's watching that inheritance or no inheritance, I think it's a lot of hard work and a lot of energy put behind anything that needs to be successful. So, what's your take on that?
Absolutely. I think inheritance, in fact, puts on a huge responsibility
Exactly. Yeah.
because you're responsible to so many different stakeholders, starting with your employees, your customers, your shareholders as you go public, your suppliers, because you're responsible for people, their families. Um, you're responsible for the environment. You're responsible for several aspects of business,
Right.
and so therefore inheritance is no cakewalk. I can assure you. But I also feel inheritance is not a burden. So I don't think you should see it as a burden either, because
Right.
I think if you're passionate in doing something, if you really enjoy what you're doing and want to make a difference,
Right.
and there's a purpose behind which you're doing things,
Right.
I don't think inheritance is a burden either. So it's a lot of hard work. And it's not only hard work at the top, but I think it's hard work throughout the
Right.
organization,
Right.
and I think we have a good team in place, and a good set of people who have built this organization over time.
That I mean that's exactly the truth because people look at it and look at it as something very easy, and you go to a business school, get into the company, and everything is happening for you. That's not quite true, and one needs to put real work behind that. So under your leadership, Mayor, Thermax became an industry leader in global energy and social responsibility. So did you have of course the company vision was there, you as a person, and I'm again talking to all the women entrepreneurs and business women who are watching them. What were the key things that you chose as a path towards your strategy for growth for the company at that point of time?
So first of all, let me tell you that it was my mother who chaired the company before me.
Right.
And I took over from her in the year 2004. In fact, she turned around. It was during her time that the company
Right.
turned around. She took it to a respectable level before sort of handing over the reins.
Right.
So I think, I mean, in terms of you're talking about strategies for growth within the company.
Is it like when we get in there, we have a little bit of a path for where are we walking towards? So is that this is something that usually somebody we'll have a vision and mission for a company, but then we'll also have stuff to do because we know that this is what's going to work for us and this is how what we are good at. So something of that sort.
Sure. So basically, in 2004, when I took over, the company had just come out of a turnaround. And so we actually brought in a consultant
Right.
to help us in terms of really understanding what should our strategy be going forward. And some of the areas that we decided to concentrate on was, first of all, domestic dominance. If you want to be a leader, you
Right.
need to dominate in your home market before you can have the right to another market.
Right.
So the first thing was domestic dominance. The second was we decided to look at our international space. And earlier we were all over the globe.
Right.
And we decided instead of doing something like that, we should be very selective. Being in the capital goods sector, it involves not only sales, but even service and regular maintenance of our equipment.
Right.
And so we decided that we need to selectively focus on a few markets, get a market share in those markets,
Right.
and be able to service our customers in those markets
Right.
to a level that is okay with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to selectively focus on just a few markets, and that's what we're doing today. The third, as I said, since we had just come round from a turnaround, what stops when a company is not doing well is money spent on innovation and R&D.
Right.
And so we wanted to really kickstart the R&D engine.
Mm-hmm.
And so we invested a lot of time, a lot of effort, and some money in terms of making people feel that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to kickstart the innovation engine again, because you can't afford to make mistakes in a
Right.
time when money is short.
Sure. Right.
So the whole kickstarting of that happened during that time.
Right.
And then we also decided to focus on the organization and building up the organization, training, investment in our people, because they had gone through a difficult patch
Right.
during the time of the turnaround. So we spent a lot of time and effort on doing that. So these were some of the areas that we really focused on at the time.
Right. So as entrepreneurs, because we when people start out and when especially with women, I think they take on too much on themselves. So you just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned you were already a big company, but you did bring in experts from outside to help you understand. But when people start off in their own companies, they want to hold on to most of the stuff and say, okay, I'm going to do it all by myself. How and that's where they probably also lose out on expert advice or other people's help that can come in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they probably make more mistakes also because when you do it all by yourself, everything you're the expert at everything. Probably you do not know where you're making where the gaps and what things are happening. So your mother Anu Aga, she's one of the legendary people in the country. She brought in these consultants and outside experts to help you. You've already mentioned that yes, that happened in the company. Can you just tell us one more time that it's important to be able to bring in expert advice, coaches, and knowledge capital in some form for us to be able to see things through, and rather than doing it all by ourselves.
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned from my mother is the humility to say, I don't know, or the humility to say that I'm out of depth and
Right.
I need help. And I think it's easier for a woman to say that than for a man.
Right.
Very often comes in the way of their sort of macho image that
Right.
I need to know everything if I'm in this position. So I'm really happy that we were able to bring in someone, and I think it's really important from time to time to bring in expertise. I mean, it doesn't have to be someone really expensive, but it's nice to get a mirror
Right.
in some ways to look at yourself, and also to get an outside in perspective. Very often you have a very narrow perspective of just the organization, and you're so concentrated on what you're doing and what you want to do well
Right.
that you forget what lies outside.
Right.
So once in a while, I think it's very good to get in this outside in expertise, which we
And
did.
that's actually very important. According to what I have learned over the years, that what people give you from outside, as an outside perspective, will always give you a space for in which you can think differently. So otherwise, you're still sitting in that box, trying to do your best and not moving forward. So to build momentum, it is very, very important. Mayor, your first opportunity with mistakes, chaos, and some sort of confusion was when you and your husband went to England and look after a sick plant in UK, and you did a turnaround there. So
Mhm.
tell us about that what happened there, and you were still short of money, you were short of people, and you were just about short of everything.
Yeah.
How did you manage that?
So first of all, when I joined the company, my parents always believed that I had to start at the very bottom. So after I finished my master's in chemical engineering, I came back to India and joined as a trainee engineer, one amongst 100 others who joined at the same time. If I remember correctly, we probably were about 4 or 5 women who joined at the time, but I don't quite remember that. Um, and and it was a very good induction program in the organization because we had to really go through the various departments before we were put in a division, including service at site
Right.
for a short time. In fact, today it's a must that everybody, whether you're man or woman,
Right.
spends 6 months at a site before you actually join a department in the company.
Right.
So after we joined, 2 years into that, both my husband and I, we were sent to the UK to turn around this sick unit, and it was great because I think we were just thrown into the deep end. Um, had had a great mentor in one of our directors at the time who joined us for a year, and who really taught us in terms of what is marketing and how we should look at what the customer requires and not try and just dump equipment that we manufacture in one market into another.
Right.
So we really learned in terms of marketing, we learned everything because we were just about 5 or 6 of us in the office. So from sales to service to production to procurement to finance. I mean, we were really managing everything.
Right.
So it gave me a super insight into how to run a tiny startup
Right.
almost.
Right.
And we had no money. So I think the biggest value for both Firoz and me was the value of cash
Right.
and how to distinguish between cash flow and profits. Because profits is something that you can have on paper, but if you don't have the cash,
Right.
there's no way that you can make the engine run.
Right.
I mean, just little things like we didn't have money to fly to Germany to service a customer. And so we had to actually drive from the UK into East Germany and paint boilers, service the customer. I mean, it was looking back, you think, wow, we really, it was fun, but at the time, it was quite stressful.
And it
Uh,
can be overwhelming, right? I mean, when you're
so,
in a place like this. But I know I think the when I hear you, you've come out of it. You've got your lessons from there, and I think the biggest lessons of your cash flow versus profit and being able to serve the customer.
yeah.
It's one of the key things that one learns in business. So Meher, there's a common thread that runs between all stakeholders in a business, and which is what I think we all need to know as business people or entrepreneurs. So starting from the teams within the company to the customer outside the company, and the thread that flows between them, not just
Mhm.
via the products or the service, but in terms of the overall relationship that is built. How is your company? Do you have a strategy out there which people can learn from?
I don't think there's a particular strategy in that. I think it's first of all built over time,
Right.
and And there's a lot of training. We spend a lot of time in terms of training. So training our people in terms of, we've had many people come in and train our workforce in terms of how do you sell to a customer,
Right.
how do you engage with a customer, how important marketing is as opposed to sales.
Right.
Um, so we try, and it's a matter of practice, it's a matter of trial and error. And also we've learned over the years that it is different in different, even in different parts of India.
Right.
It is different.
Right.
How to tailor make it to suit the customer in that particular region.
Right.
So I think it's something that's learned over the years.
And you also, in a company, there's a very strong and powerful succession training system in Thermax, where
Mm-hmm.
everyone, I mean, people are rotated and everyone has an opportunity to get the best mentorship in every department, which is what I no, it's not true.
No, everybody is not rotated or anything like that, but we have a very strong succession planning mechanism in
Okay.
place
Okay.
where the top management team actually goes away twice a year for a period of 2 days
Okay.
and actually goes through a list of most people within the organization,
Right.
what their skill set is, what their strengths are, what their areas of improvement are,
Right.
where are the vacancies in the company, what kind of needs do we need to fill in terms of training needs for that particular individual so that he is able to take over either in a drop dead position
Right.
or in a planned position.
Okay. Okay.
So there's a huge amount of planning that takes place and has taken place over the last many years in the organization, which is led by our CEO and MD, Mr. Unni Krishnan.
Right, right. So yeah, I mean, Mr. Unnikrishnan is one of the smartest people I've read about. So I'm going to call him also. I will. So you face an economic downturn, Mayor, and you said somewhere that it was good that it happened, because all everybody was saying, because I was watching one of your interviews on TV and this strip was running underneath Mayor Patanjali thinks it's all right. So while the world was getting ready to crumble under pressure, you were fine. And so tell us about. I think it's a very powerful way to look at something which usually looks so dark to everybody and looks like everybody's going to fall. Where you actually got up and said that this was a good time for us to look inwards and figure what was going on.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say it was happy times. It was very stressful times.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think you can do anything apart from change yourself when things are going wrong. You
Right.
can't change the world,
Right.
uh, but you can change what you can do.
Right.
And and so I think it was in a way a wake up call for the organization to say that, listen, I think maybe it's time to look inwards now, to look at how we can improve our quality, how we can up our services, how
Right.
we can um, just look at different processes and systems within the organization. Are they right for the
Right.
scale that we are today?
Right.
So I think it was just a wake up call for us to now look inwards
Right.
and, and really move and see how we could get sort of push up the ante so that when the market again once again opens up, we are ready to
Ready,
strike.
ready to strike. Super. So I think preparation and figuring out exactly where we stand, truthfully, is
Mhm.
important, and what we can do ourselves to change within our space for us to be
Right.
ready. And preparation is key. Preparation, meeting with opportunity is the perfect way to look at things and wait for the right opportunity, right timing. So Thermax, Meher has been, and your father has been a key person behind there. Creating the value system over there. So businesses are all about profit, but if you do not have a proper value system in place, it doesn't quite work in the long term. So Thermax is known for its corporate ethics, and I'm really keen to learn from you that it's over the years that it has been built. How can people learn from you?
I think a lot of it starts from the top. It always starts from the top.
Always right.
I think starting from my grandfather who started the organization and then my father who built it, they genuinely believed that that an organization is not built by hook or by crook.
Right.
Organization is something that has to sustain over generations. And I think that can only happen if there is a larger purpose to sort of growing an entity.
Right.
And my dad strongly believed that profit is not just a set of figures but of values.
Right.
So you can grow a business in many ways, but he genuinely felt that growth should be something that's sustainable. Growth should be something that has governance and ethics behind it.
Right.
And we don't want it. We want to sleep well at night.
Right.
And so hopefully let us grow keeping that in mind so that all our employees can sleep well at night.
Yeah.
And so I think that's been really the core of the organization as it grows. Having said that, being in capital goods industry, I mean, it's not like you're lily white.
Mhm.
Okay, operating in India, it's not a cakewalk.
Right.
But I would say, by and large, I'm very proud to say that this organization has stayed the path.
That's really great because conscious driven businesses are ones that sustain themselves over a long period because we see that they can build trust of a kind that normally other ones that are not able to do that don't have that kind of trust with the customer or with the stakeholders. So my last question to you, Meher, because we've seen you as a very simple person, and what does success mean to you? A lot of women are watching you here, and you're so simple. You don't flaunt. You're so soft spoken. You're like the person I'll say, come here, let's cook a Maggie and eat together. And people think that successful people are always mean, harsh, and ruthless, and so on and so forth. And I don't think you represent that category at all. So where does this what is your definition of success? Your simplicity speaks so loud that we are all inspired watching you be in this space.
First of all, thanks, Abba. I think my company has been successful, and because I am at the helm of the organization, you you sort of relate it to me and say that I'm successful. So thank you for that. But I think success really is to me it's not about doing something at the organization level only. For me, success is much more holistic.
Right.
For me, success is how do I feel confident? If I'm confident of myself, I feel I'm successful. If I have committed to doing something and I do it, I feel I'm successful. If I've committed to my children that I'll be home at a particular time and I get home on time, that to me is success.
Right.
If we say that we are going to do something in a particular area and we move towards that, that to me is success. So I think success is multi-dimensional.
Right.
And my mom always says that success at work should not be at the cost of success in life. So I think it's really important because we are the same person whether we are at home or whether we are in the workspace.
Right.
So I think if we define it more holistically, I think I am happier that way.
Right.
And I feel as long as you're at peace with yourself, I think one feels successful.
One feels successful. Yes. So if for everybody watching, success at work means that you don't have to do it at the cost of success in life, and holistic success is what is important. And people like Meher are already living it, and we have to be fully living people, not just successful at work and not doing well at the other end, but figuring out for ourselves that at all the places that we are at, that we are doing the best that we can do. So that's what probably success would mean for all of us. So thank you, Meher. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Immense lessons over there on human strength and leadership. And we look forward to speak to you one more time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.